The Terran Integration Academy, a gleaming monument to optimistic bureaucracy, orbited like a jewel against the void. Its architecture, a testament to the belief that opulent design could foster galactic peace, housed 17 distinct atmospheric meditation gardens, combat arenas capable of withstanding moon-sized projectiles, and enough diplomatic chambers for multi-species peace summits. A wall of imported Centuron crystal, inscribed with 37 languages, proclaimed its mission: cultivating understanding through shared physical prowess and mutual respect. In reality, it served as a sophisticated intelligence-gathering hub, cloaked in the guise of cultural exchange. Morning shifts saw hopeful participants, convinced that controlled combat would usher in an era of harmony. Administrators, with practiced serenity, navigated hallways, their clipboards serving as bulwarks against the chaos of cross-cultural misunderstandings and inevitable medical bay visits. The Academy's reputation for forging enlightened warriors was a cynical joke whispered by galactic elites, conveniently overlooked during funding discussions. Deep within Training Complex 7, a space engineered for beings from ethereal dancers to gravity manipulators, a demonstration was imminent. Adaptive gravity, atmosphere shifts as rapid as blinks, and walls reinforced against starship weaponry underscored the complex's necessity, born from the Academy's volatile history. Nix Chen, a human of deceptively slight stature, executed her warm-up with a liquid grace that hinted at mechanical augmentation. Barely 5 feet tall, her lean build had disarmed many an overconfident adversary. Her dark hair, secured in a battle-tested ponytail, framed a face etched with the serene focus of one who found enlightenment in the precise application of force. Nix arrived 6 months prior, Earth's contribution to the Galactic Martial Heritage Project, a diplomatic front that impressed committees but masked a harsher truth. Earth's martial traditions were forged in a world where survival demanded constant vigilance against a relentless planet. Human combat was about swift, efficient threat neutralization, not spiritual pursuits. Nix had spent her time redefining defensive techniques, weaving together 12 Terran martial arts, each honed by generations, facing a world that viewed them as prey. Her style, an artful dance, concealed its true purpose: the disarticulation of opponents. Vorak the Destroyer, an 8-foot Krathan warrior resembling a sentient siege engine, embodied his species' values: brute force, directness, and the conviction that overwhelming pressure solved most issues. His carapace gleamed, a testament to ancestors who evolved on a world where only the armored survived. Krathans had long dominated galactic combat sports, their natural advantages making them champions of physical confrontation. Their homeworld's crushing gravity and predatory fauna had cultivated a species that viewed conflict as both art and recreation. Vorak, a veteran of 47 consecutive galactic combat circuit victories, embodied the superiority of beings who had evolved to treat warfare as a... Beneath a radiant sky, the morning unveiled an exercise demonstration, a cross-cultural exchange couched in physical expression. But the true translation whispered, "Observe diverse species parade their prowess while masking this thinly veiled military evaluation." 14 worlds had representatives perched in the observation gallery, their diverse data-gathering tools subtly tracking every nuance. Weeks were spent by the Academy's administration to align atmospheric needs, gravity balances, and diplomatic seating, striving to forge a neutral arena where factions who normally wielded biochemical warfare could sit in harmony, dissecting each other's combat styles. Nix commenced her demonstration, flowing through forms resembling an ancient ritual dance, embodied by someone in complete harmony with existence. Her transitions possessed seamless grace, stirring wonder if humans had unlocked the universe's secrets concerning motion and energy. Her every motion resonated with hidden depths, mostly lost on non-humans. A subtle redistribution of weight, ready to deflect a charging foe's force, a hand placement to transform defense into a counterstrike, a breathing rhythm optimizing oxygen intake for sustained combat. Observers assessed her actions with measured interest and subtle condescension. Humans were, after all, the newest galactic members, barely navigating interstellar space before colliding with ancient species honed in organized violence for ages. Their physical skills seemed modest against the raw Krathan power or Veil Runner's speed. Galactic analysts often rated human combat from amusing curiosity to diplomatic tool, a rating guided more by politics than real threat analysis. Vorak watched the display with the tolerant indulgence one might show a clever pet. Krathan martial arts revolved around crushing or applying enough force to cause failure, effective approaches tested across countless conflicts. He perceived human combat's emphasis on deflection and precision as unnecessarily complex solutions to basic problems. Why waste time striking specific nerve spots when you could simply seize and squeeze an enemy until essential systems ceased? The demonstration zone was meticulously calibrated for human norms: standard Earth gravity, nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, spaciousness for showcasing Nyx's discipline. She progressed through elaborate forms, each sequence amplifying to reveal human martial philosophies. Her movements told a silent tale of adaptation and survival, etched in applied physics and anatomical accuracy. As Nyx transitioned into the final act, combat scenarios illustrating her art in conflict, Vorak made a fateful choice that would soon register as a catastrophic error in galactic history. The human appeared strained, wrestling techniques that exceeded her species' limits. Her moves, though visually pleasing, lacked the raw power of true martial mastery. A live demonstration of actual combat seemed necessary, and the Krathan warrior never missed an opportunity for education. Vorak, rising in the front row, cast a shadow that seemed to extinguish light and hope equally. His movement caused a gravitational tremor, prompting smaller beings to silently reassess their insurance. His intent was crystal clear to anyone familiar with Krathan customs, an unscheduled lesson on species hierarchy. "Little human," Vorak's voice dripped with patronizing amusement, as if viewing the encounter as a lesson, not combat. "Your technique lacks a foundation. A proper demonstration of true force may improve your understanding?" Nyx paused, her face shifting from focus to something ominously serene. She turned toward the Krathan's approach with calm attention, silently calculating leverage, momentum, and the Krathan's likely mass. A tremor of anticipation, a silent, held breath, hung heavy in the air. Within the observation chamber, diplomatic scribes prepared to document another Krath demonstration of brute force. In the training arena, two opposing philosophies of conflict raw power versus refined technique stood poised on the brink of collision. Vorak, embodying the unyielding confidence of a being accustomed to dominion, extended a hand, a colossal fist poised to assert the primacy of size and strength. What followed would shatter the very foundations of Krath incident reports. Vorak's swift, inexorable grasp towards Nyx Chen would become a subject of study in military academies across 70 star systems, not for the reasons anticipated. His massive hand descended, a collapsing star of muscle and bone, poised to crush defiance. This, the casual arrogance of a species that had declared physical superiority the ultimate social edict for 3 centuries, was about to meet its match. Nyx Chen, a creature of a world where raw strength was not always the defining factor for survival, a world that had honed adaptability over brute force, was ready. In the microsecond before contact, a pivotal truth would be revealed. Human martial arts, evolved in a world where the largest predator wasn't always the victor, was not about dominating by force, but surviving against those vastly more powerful. Nyx's training, honed over millennia, triggered an exquisitely calculated response. Her subtle stance adjustment redefined her from a stationary target to a dynamic fulcrum. Gravity and leverage amplified her technique, transforming Vorak's forward momentum into rotational energy, a concept his evolutionary programming had never encountered. Vorak's brain, wired for uncomplicated force, struggled to process the impossible. His senses, accustomed to a universe where sheer size dictated victory, became overwhelmed by conflicting data. A profound dissonance ensued, a momentary disconnect that shattered his perception of reality itself. Nyx's movement was an elegant dance of controlled brutality. Her grip, focused not on stopping, but on redirecting, channeled Vorak's aggression into an assisted aerial maneuver. This throw, a fusion of classical judo adapted for an alien opponent, proved a testament to the exquisite precision of applied physics. The result, an 8-foot warrior experiencing involuntary flight, was a spectacle that transfixed the observers. A collective gasp fell over 14 species, an atmosphere laden with anticipation of both scientific discovery and potential diplomatic crisis. Assumptions about human prowess were brutally shattered as recording devices captured every detail of Vortax's trajectory, creating documentation later classified at levels requiring legislative consent. His impact with the training floor unleashed a sound, a jarring fusion of shattering ceramics and the seismic rumble of a minor earthquake. Though his landing aimed to disperse kinetic energy across numerous impact points, it utterly failed to consider that crayon bone structure hadn't evolved for abrupt, high-velocity altitude changes. The resultant restructuring of his skeletal framework produced a symphony of anatomical sounds so profound it would haunt the medical staff's dreams for weeks. The throw itself, from initial contact to final impact, lasted a mere 1.3 seconds, an eternity and an instant all at once for those present. In this fleeting moment, the universe itself seemed to offer a stark lesson in irony, allowing the galaxy's most physically dominant species to experience the sting of superior technique. The message was delivered with absolute clarity, an educational experience designed for enduring comprehension. As Vorax lay still, his nervous system urgently conferring with his consciousness about his body's current state, Nyx straightened from her follow-through with an unruffled composure that mirrored her earlier demonstration. Her expression implied that the preceding events were merely standard practice in human martial arts instruction, though a subtle shift in her breathing hinted at the technique's substantial energy demands. Across the Academy, medical alert systems, designed to monitor life signs of diverse species, began to blare warnings ranging from possible concussion to catastrophic structural failure, culminating in the diplomatically phrased, "immediate intervention recommended." Emergency response protocols kicked into action with an efficient urgency that suggested the Academy's staff had indeed prepared for such interspecies educational mishaps, though their focus had been on accidental poisoning of methane breathers rather than the far more dangerous revelation of human potency. Dr. Kalani, the Academy's chief medical officer, whose career was built on the premise that injuries stemmed from accidents, not applied skill, arrived with equipment capable of treating everything from radiation poisoning to dimensional displacement. Her initial assessment of Vorax's condition involved minutes of professional dialogue with diagnostic devices that repeatedly sought confirmation of their readings. The Crayon warrior's collarbone had been artfully redistributed across his torso, a testament to both artistic flair and a deep understanding of structural engineering. In the observation gallery, diplomatic representatives grappled with the implications, their government's intelligence services initiating urgent revisions to threat assessment protocols. The Altarian trade delegation quietly began amending their negotiation strategies for upcoming Earth-based commercial discussions. The hegemony's military attaché activated emergency communications to advocate for an immediate re-evaluation of all human defensive assumptions. Simultaneously, representatives from 3 distinct species began composing messages to their home worlds, opening with phrases like, "regarding our prior assessments of human military capability," and concluding with requests for enhanced intelligence gathering. Nix remained in the training area, observing the medical response with the detached air of a professional assessing the efficacy of applied technique. Her silence stemmed not from shock or remorse, but from a cultural inclination towards conflict resolution that prioritized results over explanations. Human martial philosophy held that actions spoke far more eloquently than words, and her demonstration had undeniably conveyed its intended message with exceptional clarity. The Academy's emergency medical team worked with a focused efficiency born of extensive interspecies trauma response training. Even if their protocols hadn't anticipated the systematic dismantling of apex predator bone structure through applied leverage, Vorax's treatment necessitated intricate coordination between atmospheric support, gravitational adjustment, and specialized pharmaceuticals designed for beings whose baseline pain tolerance far exceeded most species' maximums. Albay's advanced medical equipment, equipped to address everything from searing plasma burns to disorienting temporal displacements, buzzed with intense activity as it struggled to ascertain the true extent of the damage. The incident reports would later dub this event an educational demonstration with astonishingly practical applications. As Vorak was being readied for transit, his awareness flickered back, revealing profound realizations. First, his collarbone had been artfully reshaped into something requiring consultation with both surgeons and avant-garde sculptors. Second, the small human female remained precisely where she began, implying the entire ordeal was a calculated application of skill, not a mere happy accident. Third, his deeply ingrained understanding of galactic military power structures demanded a complete overhaul, assuming he could still focus on such complex thought. Vorak's transfer to the medical bay was a masterpiece of controlled precision, akin to maneuvering volatile explosives through crowded locales. His state, described as creatively reconfigured but functional, persisted, as medics continually uncovered novel arrangements of his skeletal structure that defied conventional anatomy. The diagnostic gear's incessant alerts created a symphony of digital alarm and what sounded uncannily like machine bewilderment. Meanwhile, back in the training grounds, Nix resumed her demonstration as if the prior chaos had been a mere momentary pause in her schedule. Her movements retained their flawless grace, indicating that the extensive work on alien bone structure had served merely as a preliminary warm-up. Observers in the gallery watched her with the hushed reverence usually reserved for volatile experiments or celestial pronouncements. The Academy's medical bay, built to handle beings who considered temporary dimensional shifts and acute plasma exposure minor inconveniences, was now stretched to its creative limits by Vorak's condition. Dr. Kilthani found herself poring over texts unused since the infamous gravitational anomaly of '87, while her team delicately coaxed fragmented bones back into their intended anatomical positions. The Krathan warrior's collarbone had indeed achieved a level of artistic innovation that would have garnered praise from sculptors specializing in abstract interpretations of structural collapse. Vorak, now more lucid, engaged in what the medical staff euphemistically called patient assessment interviews, though his responses suggested his grasp of recent events remained somewhat elastic. When questioned about his pain levels on the standard galactic scale, he sought clarification on whether it referred to physical agony or a more profound existential dread. His former perspective, anchored in the certainty of cranial physical superiority, had been fundamentally reshaped, much like one undergoing a spiritual awakening or an intense philosophical lesson delivered through blunt force. The medical bay's waiting area had morphed into an impromptu summit for diplomatic envoys, their urgent communications with home governments reaching levels of frantic activity usually seen during imminent invasions or catastrophic market meltdowns. The hegemony's military attaché was locked in a fervent debate with his superiors regarding the urgent need to revise threat assessment protocols, while the Illyrian trade delegation had abruptly halted all negotiations pending a thorough re-evaluation of human capabilities. 3 distinct intelligence agencies were vying for precious bandwidth on the station's communication systems, all attempting to transmit critical updates regarding what their initial analyses termed a significant upheaval in fundamental human military assumptions. Ambassador Thorin of the Crystalline Collective, whose civilization had dedicated 2 centuries to perfecting combat techniques based on maintaining structural integrity through harmonic resonance, found himself compelled to re-examine his core beliefs about carbon-based life forms. His species' martial arts prized crystalline precision and geometric flawlessness, methods that had proven devastatingly effective against adversaries governed by predictable physical laws. The human female's approach, however, showcased a level of biomechanical ingenuity that hinted at Earth's inhabitants having evolved combat. Against the established order, humans dared to bend the physical laws. Human Administrator Director Vaughn awoke to utter chaos, medical crises intertwined with delicate diplomatic storms, and what insurance adjusters now termed applied physics wreaked havoc. His office transformed into the epicenter of damage control, bridging medical assistance with interspecies diplomacy. The Academy, once known for its pristine educational environment, now grappled with unheard-of human capabilities. The most unsettling matter was Nyx's silence. She performed her demonstration flawlessly, then casually cleaned equipment as if rearranging alien bone structure was commonplace. Her lack of explanation, or even acknowledgement, ignited anxiety among diplomats, surpassing usual levels for interspecies tensions. Interview requests and technical inquiries met with a polite disinterest, as if Nyx deemed the incident self-explanatory. Questions about technique received vague responses, standard defensive applications delivered with the nonchalance of discussing weather. This implied humans saw the dismantling of galactic apex predators as routine, requiring no further comment. At the administrative core, emergency meetings addressed the urgent need to revise safety protocols. The governing board, representatives from 12 worlds, confronted the stark reality. Their risk assessment failed to account for a species whose combat prowess defied their physical form. Human martial arts, once dismissed as cultural expression, were now viewed with the urgency reserved for averting wars. Ripples extended to galactic military hierarchies, shaking centuries-old foundations. The Krathan hegemony, renowned for physical combat superiority, faced a challenge from a being a fraction of their champion's size, who seemed to consider the encounter mere exercise. Military strategists across 14 worlds urgently analyzed human combat methods. Professor Zink of the Vidian Institute, whose life was devoted to galactic martial traditions, experienced intellectual collapse. His theories, based on the link between physical attributes and success, crumbled. The human demonstration introduced anomalies, suggesting Earth's inhabitants used violence according to unknown principles. Surveillance footage, invaluable for analysis, posed classification nightmares. It revealed technical details deemed sensitive intelligence, demanding a complete threat reassessment. 3 militaries sought access, while 2 intelligence agencies debated the security classifications of human biomechanical warfare. Meanwhile, Vorak's recovery progressed. His organs would function normally, except for his collarbone. Dr. Keelthani's diplomatically termed creative reconstruction would demand coaxing dozens of bone shards to reform a likeness bearing only a ghost of its original shape. The warrior's pain management, designed for beings unfazed by extreme suffering, proved insufficient as his condition defied mere physical ailments. the psychological toll far exceeding the medical team's initial projections. Vorak's identity, once built on absolute physical might, had been shattered by human ingenuity in mere moments, forcing a profound reevaluation of his place in the galactic order of effective harm. Meanwhile, Nyx completed her equipment maintenance with quiet, unflinching efficiency, her departure from the training complex noted by 17 surveillance systems chiefs, immediately upgrading human tracking protocols from diplomatic to critical threat. The security ramifications of her effortless exit sparked urgent consultations between Academy safety and station defense, as preliminary reports trickled through diplomatic channels, struggling to articulate the sheer scale of the morning's events without inciting widespread panic among species accustomed to human diplomatic, not combat, prowess. The challenge of conveying how a diminutive human female had so utterly overwhelmed an 8-foot warrior with techniques seemingly defying combat physics strained diplomatic communication beyond its usual limits. Across countless star systems, intelligence agencies scrambled to reassess human military capabilities, their previous assessments shattered by the revelation that human combat fused physics, biomechanics, and a chillingly effective psychology, rendering centuries of analytical frameworks obsolete. As the day wore on, the incident's impact radiated outwards, transforming administrative concerns into questions that would fundamentally alter galactic understanding of human potential. The silent figure, who had left the training mat with a warrior's collarbone and her own secrets, had ignited a chain reaction that would reshape military doctrine, diplomatic protocol, and threat assessment for countless worlds. The universe was discovering, it seemed, that humanity offered far more to the galactic community than initial cultural exchanges had hinted. 3 months after what Academy administrators euphemistically labeled an educational enhancement, the Terran Integration Academy bore the hallmarks of a sociological metamorphosis. Its training grounds now operate with the same rigorous safety protocols once reserved for handling unstable antimatter or negotiating with species prone to explosive communication. Actuaries, grappling with the significantly revised risk assessment parameters for interspecies educational activities, had dramatically adjusted the Academy's insurance premiums. Training Complex 7, rebuilt with reinforced flooring and enhanced medical monitoring, now boasted impact dispersion architecture, a tactful engineering euphemism for systems designed to manage the rapid redistribution of alien skeletal frameworks, though staff privately hoped these protocols would remain theoretical. The observation gallery, a testament to the incident's profound impact, now featured emergency barriers to shield diplomatic personnel from what incident reports chillingly termed educational debris patterns resulting from applied human technique. A profound shift had taken hold. Academy enrollment stats painted a dramatic picture. Admissions staff were now scrambling to clarify to their governments. A surge in applications from species once arrogantly labeled apex predators exploded, rising by a staggering 400%. Simultaneously, unprecedented demand for human combat skills training fueled waiting lists far exceeding the facility's capacity. The Crothan hegemony formally requested 12 more training slots, their accompanying diplomatic overtures meticulously omitting any mention of past dismissals of human military prowess. Even the famously haughty Vidian Empire discreetly inquired about cultural exchange programs centered on biomechanical combat application, a stunning reversal of their established scorn for lesser species martial traditions. Professor Kellen of the Draconian Military Institute had arrived weeks prior, ostensibly to conduct a scholarly analysis of Terran fighting styles. His actual mission, heavily classified and requiring legislative approval, was to ascertain if human techniques could be adapted by species prioritizing brute strength over the almost impossible precision Nyx demonstrated. Preliminary findings revealed human martial arts defied core tenets about physical attributes dictating combat effectiveness, sending shockwaves throughout military command centers across 17 star systems. Nix resumed her duties with the same quiet intensity of before, although her classes now resembled military briefings more than educational lectures. Her students, being seasoned in everything from plasma warfare to dimensional combat, approached her instruction with reverence. The advanced waiting list now contained officers from species that once looked down on humanity with disdain. These curriculum changes extended far beyond just Nix's classes. Human martial arts were reclassified from cultural demonstration to advanced military science, demanding updated safety measures, diplomatic protocols, and liability frameworks for these powerful courses. The governing board initiated mandatory psychological evaluations for human combat method enrollees after several incidents involving clashing worldviews. Orthak's recovery now centered on life philosophy reconstruction. His collarbone attained a structural complexity that medical journals highlighted in innovative skeletal articles, though the warrior remained largely unmoved. His comprehension of combat had undergone a deep shift, not merely acknowledging, but fundamentally recalibrating personal identity assumptions. To everyone's surprise, the Kran warrior applied for Nix's intermediate course. Attached was a formal letter marking the first documented case of a Kran explicitly recognizing another's superior combat methodology, igniting intense analysis by diplomatic anthropologists. His presence initially created palpable tension, yet his clear determination established a new precedent for cross-species combat education. The echoes of the incident continued to reverberate throughout galactic military and diplomatic circles. The Altarian Defense Council reassessed human military potential, while the Hegemony's War College dedicated an entire department to the asymmetric methods employed by humans. Across countless star systems, veiled in deceit, life forms were meticulously reassessing humanity. Director Vaughn grappled with the escalating human recalibration crisis, updating policies to acknowledge Earth's shocking combat prowess, shattering existing models. His office throbbed with diplomatic demands, military evaluations, and revised threat protocols for an underestimated species. The Academy's research expanded, scrutinizing the intricate biomechanics behind human combat. Dr. Menturi oversaw studies from joint flexibility to Nix's bone restructuring feats, fueled by physics, psychology, and engineering. Diplomatic tides shifted. Those who once viewed humans as inferior revised strategies, recognizing enhanced strategic value. Trade halted, alliances reconsidered. Nix's unwavering silence on her techniques ignited galaxy-wide frustration. Her simple phrase, "Observe and adapt," became a puzzle. The implications of her secrecy went beyond security, raising questions of hidden knowledge. Evening training became desperate efforts, with injuries soaring, yet dedication persisted. Rehabilitation services expanded to mend alien attempts to mimic human combat. As the first year concluded, the galaxy's perception of physical appearance versus capability was forever altered. The human woman's actions triggered a revolution in military thinking, reshaping defensive doctrines. Universities launched deceptive species capability analysis programs, while academies embraced asymmetric threat assessments. The irony? True galactic harmony emerged not through planned programs. The universe, in a single stunning act of humility-inducing violence, had reshaped preconceptions and redefined diplomatic cooperation forever. The Academy's mission, etched in 37 tongues into the Centuron crystal wall, still spoke of unity through excellence and respect. But now, it truly fostered a keen awareness. The most menacing beings often wore the mask of harmlessness. Their new motto, whispered among staff and students, became, "Assume zero, cherish all, and never grab during demonstrations." Quarterly reviews transformed into linguistic tightropes, testing even veteran diplomats. Representatives from 14 worlds, from resonating crystals to gaseous beings requiring special atmospheres, gathered around a specially designed table. The primary agenda item, gently phrased as evaluation of educational methodology post-demonstration, had overloaded their databanks. Ambassador Corinth of the synthetic hegemony, who considered biology a flawed design, found his core beliefs shattered. His people's doctrine, supreme engineering over inferior biology, had reigned supreme for 3 centuries. The human display introduced chaos his systems struggled to process. Preliminary findings, Dr. Mentar's words, calibrated for explosive reactions, indicate human combat integrates principles previously deemed impossible. Biomechanical efficiency surpasses optimal models, demanding a complete re-evaluation of organic physical limitations. The conference room buzzed as delegations entered intensive strategic consultations. The Vidian sent encrypted messages to military minds who believed in size equating power. The Altarian delegation triggered emergency protocols reserved for disasters. 3 months of analysis yielded reports classified at levels reserved for star system destroying weapons. Human combat arts, they declared, represent not just different techniques, but utterly alien philosophies on intent, technique, and reality. The implications stretched beyond war, delving into consciousness, adaptation, and evolutionary optimization for chaos, as some called it. Labs now focused on Terran biomechanical anomalies, though findings only deepened the mystery. Human joint flexibility defies skeletal limits. Reaction times suggest impossible neural processing. Disturbingly, effectiveness improves under stress, defying cognitive decline. Vorak's recovery became a study in post-traumatic worldview reconstruction, with therapists noting his surprisingly positive adaptation. Vorak, a Krathan warrior, underwent a profound transformation. His collarbone rebuilt through a fusion of ancient Krathan medicine and cutting-edge bioengineering. Medical experts hailed the result as superior to any original design, though Vorak viewed his involuntary contribution to anatomical advancement with quiet contemplation. His healing blossomed into an unexpected ambassadorship for interspecies combat study, a program the Academy pioneered. Initially, Vorak's presence in human martial arts classes caused palpable tension, demanding delicate management. Yet his unwavering commitment bridged the gap between species, shifting their interactions from diplomatic formality or military conflict to open learning. Vorak's voice, once casual and arrogant, now held a thoughtful gravity. The small human taught me, strength without understanding is mere noise. My people judge combat by the power to win, while hers by the least needed to survive. The gulf is vast. This shift sparked a cultural revolution throughout Krathan military society. Quietly, warrior training academies incorporated alternative combat methodology analysis, the systematic study of precision disarming rather than brute force, into their curricula. Academy graduation ceremonies, once exclusive events, attracted galactic observers, scrutiny demanding background checks of third-generation family members. These rituals showcased breakthroughs in interspecies combat, marking advancements in galactic military science and successful integration of diverse combat philosophies. Nyx, the enigmatic instructor, remained enigmatic. Her mere presence commanded the respectful awe usually reserved for beings with cosmic power. Her refusal to explain her methods evolved into a source of profound respect across the galaxy for the strategic value of guarding secrets. The Terran Integration Academy achieved the unprecedented, galactic acknowledgement that every species holds unique assets, and that ignoring any risks an educational experience far beyond safe limits. The universe, in its subtle humor, used applied physics and anatomical reassembly as its punchline. 6 months later, historians labeled this the post-Crathen era, a time when a sobering realization surfaced. The universe's most threatening creatures often hid their true power. Military academies throughout 17 star systems embraced new training protocols, recognizing that combat effectiveness transcended the simple measurement of muscle and weaponry. The discovery of humanity's uniquely evolved fighting style, honed on a world of constant peril, initiated a radical shift in xenobiological studies of survival adaptation. Nyx's classes, under the watchful eye of heightened antimatter safety standards, still followed the precise methodology of her renowned demonstration. Observe, adapt, and remember, the universe is rife with those who mistake silent mastery for weakness. Her students, representing species formerly considered apex predators, treated her lessons with the deference usually reserved for divine visions. The Terran Integration Academy still prioritized shared physical mastery, yet its success extended far beyond the founder's initial vision. Galactic harmony wasn't born of diplomacy. It arose from unexpected alliances. It transcended mere cultural exchange, rooted in the profound realization that any being, regardless of appearance, held the power to shatter one's deeply held assumptions. This esteemed academy became a crucible for learning, not only advanced combat strategies, but the vital truth. In a vast cosmos, teeming with species honed for lethal efficiency, the truly perilous were often the silent ones. The galaxy had been unequivocally taught. Attempting to interrupt someone mid-demonstration courts, an education far exceeding the limits of skeletal resilience.